Ever find yourself using the same few ideas for fills and drum solos? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you my approach on how to creatively improvise on the drums. A special thanks to Jacob Wayne for requesting this video. I want to start by sharing how I conceptualize improvisation as a whole in the context of groove, fills, and drum solos. So imagine every drummer has a bag, and in this bag contains every single fill, groove, transcription, drum solos, sticking patterns, etc. that they've worked on. Now, ideas that they have worked on a lot or really recently will be at the top of the bag, and ideas that they haven't really worked on much or that they worked on years ago will be lower down at the bottom of the bag. Each time they go to play a fill, in the fraction of a second, they'll reach and grab an idea from their bag. So for example, if they've only practiced 8th notes on the snare and 16th notes on the snare, then they'll only have really 2 options to reach from when they go to play a drum fill. But a professional drummer who's been playing for say 30 plus years will have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of ideas that they have perfected and mastered. Which is why when we hear our idols play a drum solo, it's hard for us to understand how they're making up such an amazingly great solo every single time that's very different from their last solo, but still just as incredible. Now, to add in a curveball, these ideas can also be manipulated on the fly, whether that's changing the orchestration around the drum kit, changing dynamics, changing the sound, changing the subdivision, adding in rests, mixing 2 fills together, to name a few ways. So you're probably thinking, well, that's great and all, but how do I fill up my bag with amazing ideas and be able to draw from it with ease? Well, that's what we're going to chat about next. So we're going to add a new idea to our drumming bag. So first, you need to pick an idea. It could be a rudiment, a sticking pattern, or a small drum fill. I'm going to choose the paradiddle-diddle for this video. Great rudiment. So first, start off by practicing the idea with good practice habits. So playing slowly, using a metronome, making sure you get a good sound, and making sure you've got good technique, to name a few. If you want a bit of a deeper dive on some more practice tips, check out my 6 practice tips for drummers. I'll leave a link up here. Okay, great. So after some practice, you can now play a paradiddle-diddle. Keep in mind that if your idea is something more complicated, say 9/16th triplets with hands to feet combinations, this step is going to take a little bit more time. But now you have your idea ready to go. Step 1 complete. So now we're going to have a go at manipulating the idea. So we're going to take it through a series of filters, if you like, to try and maximize creativity and get more out of the idea rather than just playing it in its basic form. First, let's have a go orchestrating it around the drum kit. So you can take it from the snare, down the toms, and move it around the drums. Great, now we can move the first note, or the accented note, around the drums while leaving the others on the snare. Now, what if we added a kick drum on the last note instead of a snare or a left hand? So we're going to go right, left, kick, instead of that double left at the end. So here are 3 ways to get you started, but really get creative with it and see how many ways you can play this idea. Next, we're going to change the subdivision, or the value of the notes. So the paradiddle-diddle is usually played in 16th note triplets so that you have 1 per beat. So what if we played it as 8th note triplets? Now it'll take 2 beats to resolve the rudiment, and it'll sound like this. Great, now what if we play it as 16th notes? So now it will cross over the beat and it will take 3 beats to resolve. So now we can have a bit of a play around with these 3 different subdivisions. The third idea we're going to use is changing the dynamics. So rather than playing the rudiment all at the same volume, we can play soft or loud. We can also crescendo. or decrescendo. Also known as getting softer or getting louder over time. So now, if we mix in orchestration or changing the drums with changing the subdivisions or changing the speed of the note, also changing the dynamics, loud to soft, or anything in between, we can now come up with some pretty cool ideas just using this one rudiment, the paradiddle-diddle. So hopefully that gives you some indication on how to play one idea in many different ways. I think this approach is much better than taking, say, 10 set fills that all start on the same beat and the same subdivision and go for the same length at the same dynamics. You'll find that you're just very limited because you're always trying to find the perfect place to paste in these set fills. Whereas if you're able to manipulate smaller ideas with, say, subdivision, orchestration, dynamics, and more, you'll always be able to manipulate the idea to whatever musical situation is needed at that time. Okay, great. So now we have taken a few small ideas, learned how to manipulate them in a few different ways, so how do we mix and match ideas now? So if you practice improvising with one idea for a few practice sessions and you're happy with how it's sounding, now think of it as placing this idea in your bag of improvisation ready to go. But how do we seamlessly implement this into our improvisational vocabulary? Now I would suggest putting on a metronome and improvising whatever comes out. Think of this as your baseline of improvisation ideas, and whatever you play is going to be great. If you find that you keep freezing up, not knowing what to play, or you're executing ideas but they're not sounding like they do in your head, then I would suggest taking the metronome down to give yourself even more breathing room. So now we're going to paste in the new idea. In this video's case, the paradiddle-diddle. So we're just going to paste this in at random times during our improvisation. So the way I'm kind of thinking about this is solo, 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 paste in your idea. Solo, solo, paste in your idea. And you keep going like this until you start to feel it organically flow into your playing. Over time, with enough practice, this idea will become part of your baseline improvisation collection, in which case now you can move on, pick a new idea, and work that into your playing. So to summarize, you're going to pick an idea, whether that's a groove, a fill, a sticking pattern, or rudiment, and you're going to learn this slowly. Then you're going to manipulate it in as many ways as possible so that you're getting more out of the idea. Then you're going to improvise using your normal bag of improvisational collection ideas. Whatever comes out is great. But then you're going to paste in the new idea at various times until it becomes organic. You'll find that your idea may connect really, really well with some of your older ideas, and also you might find that the idea is very difficult to play with other ideas, but this is all part of the process. So I hope you found today's lesson useful. If you have any questions or any improvisational tips, drop them in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.